Welcome to Teaching Liberty. I'm Stephanie Edmonds, creator of Teaching Liberty and your host of this guest teacher series. And tonight we are going to be learning about why we should have a liver cleanse and how to have a liver cleanse with my friend Danielle. So I'm going to bring Danielle in right now. Welcome. How you doing, Danielle?
Hi, good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on here. We actually started doing a liver cleanse, you as my guide. And
Yes.
so I'm super excited to have you on here to kind of like let people know, first of all, why they should do a liver cleanse, how to do a liver cleanse. And I think it's like the way that you have us doing it, it's way easier and less intimidating than a lot of these things out there. And then um I guess before that though, like tell us how you got this knowledge. Like how do you know about this? 'Cause, like, I know a little bit myself, like, I've done some
hmm
sets, I've done some little, like, those diets, this and that, but tell us a little bit about your journey and, how you gained this knowledge along the way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's from being. I had gotten sick years ago, right? So I've always had some issues. I've always had issues as a kid. As you look back, now you think to yourself, okay, I know what it was. I've come this far. I know the things that trigger me. It definitely was a lot of dietary issues that I can now pinpoint. Going away to college, you know what I mean, treating my body like a playground and eating garbage, and you know what I mean, obviously drinking too much and doing
Freshman 15,
things.
what up?
Oh, dude, I put the freshman 15 on in a half a semester. It didn't even take me a full year. So,
Well, I had gone to boarding school actually, and in boarding school, we had the freshman 15 because it was the same thing, like, you're away from
yeah.
your parents and, like, you eat what you want whenever
Oh,
you
yeah.
want, and so, yeah, it can happen. It's just about it doesn't matter about the age. So for
Yeah.
any younger kids that may be watching out there, you're not exempt from this.
No, and it's, unfortunately you don't know, it's I think honestly a lot of kids like are smarter now, a lot of information is out about what, just how to keep some
Mm.
sort of, good diet and good foods to incorporate. But back then it's like we were ordering Domino's off of, a food card that was getting
Yeah.
delivered at
I don't
12
know. I
a.m.
think it's both ways though, right? Because back when you and I were kids, I was running around
Yeah,
outside, versus I
right.
feel like kids these days, there's this perception, which I'm debating whether that, oh, it's not safe to go out. But I think it's not that it's not safe to go out so people don't go out. It's that people don't go out. So there's a perception that it's not safe to go out or
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
increase in safetyism. But they play video games and this and that, versus where we got to run around. And there is a I don't know what the exact statistic is, but the overall American population obesity is almost
Oh
50%,
yeah.
is it not?
Yeah.
And then with kids, it's rising and it shot up dramatically during COVID. So I just think that that your story and this podcast in general are important for people of all ages.
Yeah, I mean, again, just with being sick myself, not really being able to find answers, being it honestly felt like I was just being passed around from doctor to doctor. I spent 5 years. It was, you're fine. And I knew I was anything but fine. I felt like I was honestly just slowly kind of dying, honestly, is the way to best explain it. And I said, you know what? No one's going to help me if I don't help myself, So I really just started digging into just dietary and eliminating things. And then it almost got though a little bit too difficult because it got to a point where it's like now I'm eliminating everything. And I went to the other side where it was so stressful. It was so like watching every single little thing that I'm putting in my body. It shouldn't be that hard, and that's why I wanted to make this as simple as it could be for people, because we're not really meant to struggle with disease. We're not meant to, our bodies are self-cleaning. They're able to recover from really anything that comes our way, but we put so many things in its way, between the
Right.
toxins in the food and products and household products and everything. Our livers cannot keep up with what we're putting
Mm,
inside our bodies, and you develop disease. And that's why so many of us are sick
mm.
and chronically sick.
Danielle, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Can you put your camera down?
Oh
So, like,
yeah.
prop it up.
Yeah. Is that better?
Yeah, it was just like it was shaking a lot.
Oh,
I
gotcha. No
appreciate
problem.
that.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Um, so no, but I agree, like, between just like the big, um corporations, the food industrial complex, it's really taken
Yeah.
over everything. And like you said, we have to find ways where we can find sustainable habits
Yep.
and still be able to achieve a level of liberty with
Yeah.
our health where we're not dependent on the healthcare system, right? Where
Well,
we don't have
yeah.
to run out to these doctors, and everything goes back to diet, which brings us to
Right.
what we're doing now. I know personally, it all starts around Halloween when that Halloween candy comes in,
Yep.
because I was doing so well. And
You know
then
what's interesting
we
with
get into the
that?
holidays, right?
Yeah, they actually so many different studies have come out that there's not really actually a flu season. Do you know what they say that it's from? From what you just said, that it's all from sugar that
Oh, man.
destroys your immune system, and it
Mm,
starts with, you know what I mean, Halloween,
right.
and it starts
I mean,
with
there's just probably, like, a
holidays.
seasonal aspect to it, like, also you're going indoors because it's colder more.
Right.
So, but I agree, right?
Vitamin D.
You're losing vitamin D, it's like this
Yeah.
conjunction of things that happen, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like you have the candy that comes, and then you get to Thanksgiving, and then you're, well, like, oh, you're basically at the New Year, so you'll just, wait
You
until
keep
the New
going.
Year.
Yep.
Exactly. And so, yeah, it's just it got away from me, but also, like, it's just so addicting. I think especially, like, if you're in a higher stress situation, I can really feel myself using the food as like an emotional crutch,
Yeah.
right? When you feel down, you
Absolutely.
do something bad, right? Like, so I'm trying to break that habit. And so we've been doing this for about a week, and I've definitely had some, missteps. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
that's okay.
but I wanna tell for the people, like, how do you do a liver cleanse? So we've talked about the reason why we should do it, right? We're in this world that's filled with toxins from the food that we eat to the industrial cleaners that we use.
Hmm.
How do I do this and in a way that's, like, not where I have to watch every single little thing or I'm, like, getting so stressed out about it? So, yeah, break it down for us.
Yeah, and that's where, that's what I always tell people, right? Like, I'll post stuff, and I'm mainly posting for educational purposes and ideas and things like that, but this is no one's saying that this is like 100%. Like, if you live by the thought of doing like an 80-20 or a 90-10, so basically 80 to 90% of, unprocessed, food, and as clean as you
Right.
can. And even within that, if you can limit, some of your meat intake, just because it puts a lot less stress on your
Okay.
liver and your
We'll
body
have
in
to talk about
general.
the meat. I wanna talk about.
Yeah.
Alright, so and I guess right now, though, what we are trying to do, at least for, like, a month or so period, is, like, really go 100%, right?
Right.
But,
Right.
as I said, I had some missteps, but ultimately, it would be to get to, like, that 80-90 point.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about unprocessed food, whole foods, right?
Yes.
So we wanna eat a lot of greens,
Yeah.
right? And just vegetables in general, but I think those greens, like, they have so many vitamins and nutrients. And then also fruits are good,
Yeah.
right?
Fruits have a lot. Yeah. I mean, I
Is there
start my
any
so you're
particular category of fruits?
No, you really could do whatever you enjoy. I mean, you definitely want to start your day. They always say from like 7 to 11, is the time where you want to start your day with fruit. It just helps,
Okay.
like, they even, because people a lot of times think that they have to jump to that first cup of coffee,
Mm,
before they can do anything. But if you actually set yourself up with like a big bowl of fruit, you'll get more energy from that, because all
yeah.
coffee is going to do is make you kind of crash and
Right.
burn later anyway,
Exactly.
you
Yeah,
know?
actually, apples have a lot of natural caffeine in them, and
Yep.
it's like time released. So you're not gonna feel that same buzz as coffee, but you also won't feel
Yeah.
the same crash. So, okay, so you're saying morning is a great time to start off with fruit. And, I guess though, if, like, right now at the beginning of my cleanse, I'm probably gonna stay away from, like, those more high sugar fruits, and try to go, like, more berries or apples, bananas, things that maybe have a little bit less sugar than, like, oranges. Though at night, I have found myself, like, trying to skip over my sugar cravings with, like, a little, what what are they called? Clementines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
real clementine, 'cause
I
they have that good pop of sugar
They do,
and
and I don't know, I
you
honestly
feel it.
kind of through everything I've always read, throughout the years, you don't really have to be afraid of fruit sugar though. You
Okay,
really don't, because you got to think about it. When you're cutting out the majority of sugar, like real sugar from a processed diet, you're not gonna it's not gonna be really a detriment to
right,
your diet to pick it up on fruit sugar.
okay.
Like I think there's kind of
There's
like,
those really, like, strict keto diets, which I've done in the past,
yeah,
which, like you're saying, is, like, why I'm obviously doing this again because I didn't sustain it, and I'm sure there's people out
right.
there that have more discipline than me, and they're better than me, but, maybe I'm more like the average person out there that is not, like, keto crazy. Um,
Yeah, right, exactly. And I again, we've talked about this before, is if you're looking for that balance, right, and you're looking for that 80-20, then you're not looking at this like, oh, okay, I can
yeah,
never eat this again, or I can, you're just looking
right,
at, okay, what's gonna make me feel
right,
the best that I can feel, and what's gonna clean out my body, kind of the most that this will have you on a path of health that you honestly just maybe have never felt before, because we eat a lot of processed food. Even some of the healthiest stuff
right.
is it's processed.
So, okay, so we talked about we had the fruits and the vegetables. You said limit your meat intake. Now, I personally like I don't know how I guess like too much meat. You don't want to eat too much meat. But
Right.
I'm definitely I don't buy the vegetarian, the vegan line of thinking,
No,
which we can
no.
talk about maybe later on. And then some other things are like the oils. I think that people don't think about the cooking oils a lot.
Yep.
So so I know for what we shouldn't use is like the canola oils, the
Yes.
vegetable oils, the
Yes.
shortenings, right? These are all actually byproducts of other processes that they do, and they're like, "Well, how can we just, like, not throw this out and lose all this money?" They're like, "Oh, we can sell it as cooking oil."
Mm-hmm.
It's just, like, really, really bad for you, but
Yep.
there are other options that are better. What are some of the other options that we should be choosing for oils to be cooking with?
So I cook with avocado oil. It's, you can use it at a high heat. It's something that in terms of, don't fry much, but if I'm just sauteing, right, like doing a quick stir fry, I do a ton of stir fries because they're quick, they're easy, they're one pan, and they make leftovers. So definitely avocado oil, olive oil. If I have to, I will, but I've always read it's tough because sometimes this stuff is like conflicting information, but I
Right.
feel like the majority of times I have read that you're not supposed to cook olive oil at a high heat because
Yes, yes,
it's
that's true.
not good for you,
It has a it's about the burning point of the
Yes.
oil. So, like, olive oil has a lower burning temperature, whereas avocado oil
Can
has
handle
a
the heat.
very high
Right.
it can handle up to, like, 500 degrees, which,
Yeah.
I guess I don't know how hot it gets when you're, frying something, but, like, if I fry chicken, I'll do it in avocado oil,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it
And
does a
it
really good
has
job.
its right. It has its own health benefits. So that's like a safe, definitely a safe bet. Then there are those couple trigger foods. It's not like you have to remove everything, but there are certain foods that just kind of feed like the pathogens in your body,
Alright, yeah, so let's go over some big don'ts. So we had our big
Yes.
do's, what are our big don'ts?
Our big don'ts, I know this is tough, but it definitely, you're going to, obviously, the major ones are going to be your dairy. Okay. They're going to be your gluten and your corn. I mean, even organic corn products are just still, filled with
Right.
GMOs, pork,
'Cause you can't
you
yeah, you can't
know,
get around it with the corn because everything's Monsanto, isn't
yeah,
it? And that's
everything.
for wheat too.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it's also very inflammatory. Like
mhm,
corn it produces so much inflammation in the body, along with dairy. Dairy is a huge like mucus producing. We are not meant to eat dairy. It's tough. I know, believe me, with the cheese, which I love too. But if I eat anything dairy based, dude, immediately, like that, I could feel it in the back of my throat. I'm
mhm,
congested, my stomach hurts. Like you may not feel those exact
right.
symptoms,
I
but
was
it's
gonna
doing
say,
something to your body.
I think that there's probably a like a spectrum, I would say, right? Some people are more sensitive to certain foods than other people, though what you're saying, most likely in all people, it at least causes a certain extent of inflammation.
Correct. It's
So, for
doing something.
example,
Yep.
I am very gluten intolerant. It's for me, it's like an allergic reaction. It's not a stomach thing. It's like a
Mhm.
skin thing. Like and it depends. Sometimes it's like acute, like I get almost an allergy reaction, and other times it's more like I just break out really badly a few days later
Yeah.
or get dry patches. So and as I haven't been eating gluten, I've been really good about not eating gluten. That's something I've been
Yeah.
actually successful about. And I feel like my skin just looks so much better.
Well, it's a lot of, and we talked about this in the past too. It's a lot of what they spray on the food, which is why you'll often hear people say, they'll go to Italy or they'll go outside of the
Yes.
United States
Europe,
and they
yeah.
can, yeah, they can eat
What
some of
is it?
these
I
foods.
always pronounce it wrong. It's glyphosate, is that correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah,
so this stuff called glyphosate,
yeah,
again, I can't get too technical about it, but it has something to do like, they spray it just before they pick the plant.
yep,
And if you go to, like, Big Corn or Big Wheat's, website, they're like, "Oh, yeah, scientific studies show it's perfectly safe." Like, of
yep,
course, the scientific studies of people who you paid to do them say it's perfectly safe. But it's something that we definitely need to look more into, and it's on a lot of stuff. So again, is it something that we need to be like it's almost like germs or viruses, like, they're everywhere. Do we need to
everywhere.
be speaking out about them? No. We can know about them and learn about them, and do what we can to, like, prevent it, but ultimately, we have to figure out how to live with it. And that's really my goal here is to, like, set these habits where I don't get so off track, where for months at a time, I'm just, like, eating highly processed foods,
Hmm.
you know,
Right.
and then also it affects everything because even just, like, these past couple days, um, I've had, like, moments where I'm like, "Wow," like, my clarity of thought is so I have so much more clarity of thought,
Hmm. Hmm.
or, like, I feel more, like, motivated.
The energy, because you get
Yeah,
a certain amount of energy back, when you're, and it's, listen, obviously we hear this stuff, time and time again. You kind of get what you put out, like what you put in, you'll get
right.
out. And it's, you're like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. But when you do, honestly, like that, so the thing is when you start to do this and you do it consistently, when you then go to cheat, you know what I mean, you'll
Yeah,
feel it, and
like,
you'll
"Ooh,
actually, yeah, like
ooh."
you'll feel that
Yeah,
bloating, you'll feel that, like, kind of like that tired,
exactly.
sluggish, and you're almost not gonna wanna, like, go
Do
back to
it.
that. So it's
I
amazing
know.
when you get over the hump of, like, just, okay, maybe this is a little difficult at first, you're gonna move more to maybe that 60%, and then that 70%, and then you can have a cheap meal. You just don't wanna have, like, a cheat day, or cheat days, because you're gonna feel it, you
Right,
know?
and then it literally is like a drug. Like,
Yeah,
sugar is so addicting, and even just, like, those processed fats, and so
yeah,
much stuff has MSG in it as well. It's addicting.
yeah,
Like, I see it with my son in the sugar, like, I saw it
yep,
today. So, it was Valentine's Day, of course, and so what do they do
of
at school on
course.
Valentine's Day? They give sugary things to each other with cards.
Yeah.
So he came home with this whole bag full of sugar, and the first thing he does is tell me, "My teacher told me that when I get in the car, that I get to have a piece of candy." I'm like, "Of course your teacher said that." Like,
Right, right.
okay, so I'm like, "Alright, whatever." And then he ate dinner at my mom's house, and then I went to go pick him up, and I know he had dessert because he brought in the piece of candy he was gonna have for dessert, and, like, I know that my mom made sure he had it before
Oh
he
yeah.
left,
Oh yeah.
and he lied to me. He was like, "No, no, 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 I didn't eat my piece of candy. No, no." I was like, "So I can call Mimi?" And he was like, "Well, no, but I didn't have it." And I'm like, "You little addict."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I see it
Yeah.
myself. I see it in my own behaviors. And so I think that's kinda like the paradox or the conundrum in your diet and in this idea of liberty in general is
Mhm.
that in order to achieve this liberty, you need to have discipline.
Yep.
Right? It's almost you need to have structure in order to enjoy this freedom, right? Because no, I can't go eat wherever I want, whenever I want, but it's it's making me be addicted to their system. It's making me be
Yeah.
addicted to things that are not only bad for my body, but send dollars out of my community, right?
Mhm.
To these big corporations that then go ahead and they use that to influence other politicians and the food policy, right?
Yeah, I mean
Like
it's
the
sad,
food
but
pyramid, is made by the food companies.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's just not it's a whole system. Whereas if you get free of that system by having a little bit of discipline, you're actually feeding back into yourself and into your community. And that's what liberty is.
Well, and it gives you it for me personally, like not having to, run to the doctor. I mean, I don't do that.
And
I
the
don't
healthcare
subscribe to
system.
that.
Right.
So it does give you a sense of power, like to be able to open my cabinet and be like, okay, like I can fix this. I can take
Right.
care of my dog. I can help other people learn this stuff. Like it does give you a sense of power. You don't need to depend on someone else for every little thing, because if we've learned anything,
Right.
over the past couple of years, we have to learn how to be more independent. I think we've gotten way too used to depending on everything, food, healthcare, and if we are kind of a dollar sign to everybody. We
Right.
are.
Yeah. Which is, it has its positives and it has its negatives, right?
Right.
If you would like to support this channel, you can go over to teachingliberty.org/community, right? Put your money into content that you value rather
Yeah.
than these big corporations and people who just want you to be, like an addict. Come back, get your next hit. That's not what we're about around here. And also, you should go over and check out Danielle's Instagram because she has great content. And I want to go back to the meat thing that we had talked about before.
Yes.
But before we do that, on your Instagram, I just want to read off some other foods. And what I love about these foods and doing this liver cleanse is these are all things that you guys actually probably already have around.
Yeah.
They're not weird, obscure things. They're easily available at the grocery store. And we would like you to try to get them organic. But
Yes.
although do realize again, just because you're getting them organic doesn't mean that they're not using um pesticides. They're just
Pesticides.
using
Yeah.
it less, right?
Yep.
If you have a local farmer or farmer's market, that's good too, but again, they're
Hmm.
probably using something. So, wash your vegetables, but things that are really good for you are things like dates,
Yep.
parsley, garlic, grapes, onions, mushrooms, papayas, radishes, potatoes, sprouts, microgreens, turmeric, right? These are all things that we commonly have around the house. And when we're specifically trying to target the liver, they really, really help cleanse that out. Because what does your liver do? Your liver is getting all those toxins out.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have another one. You said apples, artichokes, asparagus, bananas, berries, Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts, guys.
Yeah.
A little bit of like either olive oil, avocado
Yeah.
oil, coconut oil, and salt and pepper. Roast them in the oven.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And it's easy and it's quick.
right.
Like all these
Yeah.
things are,
Celery, cilantro, cucumbers, dandelion greens,
yep.
lemons, limes, raw honey. Again, common items that just make sure you're having more of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do like again, I'm on the go. We're all, you know what I mean? We're all running. So it's like I'm throwing this stuff in my lunch bag. I'll throw a couple bananas in. I even just have like a bunch that I leave at work. I have a big thing of
Mm.
blueberries. I have, apples. So I get to work, I spend 5 minutes, I chop the stuff up, throw it in a bowl, and I'm good to go. I have my limes, my lemons, I'll keep there, toss it in my water. The one thing we don't often talk about, though, that I just want to briefly touch upon, though, because it has other kind of issues attached to it, is coffee. And I
Mhm.
know this could be, I just want to mention this because I don't think that here's something where I went wrong, and this is something I just recently learned. Okay, is that there is a tremendous amount of mold in coffee.
Mm.
I did it now. I knew that there was a tremendous amount of pesticides because the coffee beans in teas and just the teas and coffee, like I said, are very high in pesticides. So I was buying organic coffee for the longest time, thinking, oh, whatever, like I'm doing the best thing I can. I reached out to a doctor that did a live broadcast on this, and I said, hey, listen, you've been recently talking about mold in coffee and the high content of that. I said, would you also find that in organic coffee? And he's like, yeah, of course. He's like, there's only a couple companies that actually test for mold. So you are literally on top
Mhm.
of like the sugar and creamers and stuff that people are putting in, you're drinking mold. And I see these long lines at Starbucks, and they are like one of the, between the processed and the mold, this is how you're starting your day. You
I
know what I
never liked that
mean?
Starbucks coffee.
I know, me neither. But a lot of people do, and you know
I've
what I
been having
mean?
tea,
It's
but you're saying tea is also like if you unless you
you
get it from
have to try
somebody who
organic.
okay,
Yeah.
organic.
Yeah. Like
Alright,
Target has them super cheap too. I'm not talking
okay,
about like you get them for less than $3. Target has like a bunch of like organic teas that are
right,
pretty
and you
good.
can
Yeah.
also, like, make your own tea. One of my favorite things to do in the summer is actually to make, like a honey mint tea, and I'll
Yeah.
do it, like, cold, and I just have mint growing in the
Yeah.
back and just some honey.
Mint is
So good.
so easy to grow. It is a weed. I
Yep.
literally get like, I mean, dude, you barely, and it like almost doesn't die. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't watered my mints in 3 days. And then it'll dry out. You water
Yeah.
it a little bit, and this thing like flourishes. So that's something that's like super easy to grow.
Exactly, and I just started or usually I do them in the summer, but now
Yep.
I'm trying to incorporate it in the winter, and it
Yeah.
makes it so much easier to remember to include those things when you just have a little mint thing there, a little
Yep.
basil thing there, and then again, you don't need to be spending the $3.99 every time for a bunch at the grocery store that half of it ends up going bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so so as you're saying, just a little bit of prep at the beginning of the week or the beginning of the day is gonna set yourself up for success. I like the tip of, leaving something at work.
Yep.
I know for myself, like, if I'm gonna be leaving for the day and, whether I know where I'm going or not, I throw a few things in my bag. Some of the bars, I know they're not always good, but I try to get, like, the ones that are better, a fresh piece of fruit.
Yeah.
Um
Absolutely.
yeah, also, like, something that I like to do is, like, smoothies, like, because it's almost like
Yes.
I can put it in my coffee mug and almost have it like coffee,
Yeah.
over a couple hours. So those are some good, I think, tips. And then you said stir fry. Something I like to do is the crock pot. I think that's a
Yep.
really good way, like, I'll do the whole chicken, or you can make a big batch of chili. And, of course, I can make a whole chicken in the oven, or I can make chili on the stove, but I can just set it and go, and then when I come back, boom, it's there, it's ready, and then
Yeah.
I have it for, like, multiple days. How do you feel about, gluten-free pasta? Like, my favorite type is the, chickpea pastas. I know that they're a little bit high in carbs, but other than that, how do you feel about them?
Other than that, it's okay. I actually use as we've talked about too, you got to watch some of the gluten-free products, so
Right.
you definitely have to look at the ingredients on the back of the box, because if you can't read it, it's definitely not something you even want to pick up.
Okay, that's a
They
great tip right there, guys. I just wanna
Yeah.
point that out. If you read the back, right, when we're talking about whole unprocessed foods, you
Yep.
should be able to read everything on the back, and it shouldn't be like color dye 5 or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they make I forget the name of the brand, but they actually make a quinoa pasta. And I get that,
Okay,
and that's actually pretty good. And it's a little bit, sometimes could be a little bit pricier. It's like maybe four and change, but in all
okay,
honesty, I'll get 2 meals out of it. So
okay,
so I'll throw like a
right.
ton of vegetables into it. If I want to throw protein, like maybe some ground turkey into
Yeah.
it, I will make it last honestly for probably like 3 meals.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'll
actually
I'll
what I'll do
just
to my chili as well. In my
yeah,
chili, I chop up vegetables like peppers and onions and mushrooms and all these different things, and then I can also get my son to eat it because he doesn't even know it's in there.
right. Right,
So that's
absolutely.
so, again, for any kids who might be like, "Ew, that's disgusting." Try it out, right?
Yeah.
Chop
Well,
up
and
some
it's again,
vegetables, put them in your chili, get yourself a nice
yeah.
serving of veggies there.
Yeah, and it's yeah, right. You're sneaking in the veggies, but then like you said too, the best part about it is having leftovers. I make a meal to make sure I have leftovers, because if you're not prepared, that's when you're going to go, that's when you're ordering lunch out. That's when you're maybe eating something you shouldn't be. It's always when you're not prepared, because what are your alternatives? And now you're at work and you're rushing, or you're
Right.
running around throughout the day. Like that's when you're going to make the bad decisions, I do it myself. I'll have an entire fridge of food, but I know I have to put something together. And if I
Right.
don't get in that mindset of doing it, I'll go eat a bag of chips for dinner. Like, I'm guilty of it, I do it. So I get it. We're all human, but it's the
Exactly.
more prepared you are, like, definitely the better choices. But real quick, papaya, if you get an organic papaya, I don't know if people know this, you can eat they have those little, like, black kind of squishy
Yeah.
seeds in them. You can eat those. You can swallow a few of those, and they are just as strong as a probiotic. So, like,
Oh,
instead of going out and spending like 40 something dollars on a good probiotic, you can swallow a few. They don't taste like anything. You just swallow them,
just a
and they
couple.
will. Yeah, you do
Okay.
just like a few of them, but, like, I put them in a baggie and I throw them in the freezer, and I'll add them to, either, like, you could add them to a smoothie, but I just swallow them. You know what I mean? So that's, like, literally a probiotic, and you know how I feel about kimchi, because that's a prebiotic too. But
Yes,
that
yes.
all that stuff, you don't have to spend $45 on a probiotic a month. Like, this stuff is in the food store for, that stuff's a little bit pricier. Maybe it's like $9, but that will last you.
Right.
That's not 45. Like, and you can put it in salads and everything. And it's so good for your gut. So those
Okay.
are two things that you can do as well.
All right, and 2 more things I wanna talk about. I wanna come back around to the meat thing. So you said that,
Yeah.
for our liver that we should limit the meat. Now I've heard of these all meat diets. I
Yeah.
personally think a lot of the stuff about not eating meat is overhyped, and also I think that there's a lot of misconceptions around red meat. Um,
Hmm.
because actually from the research that I've done, it's actually better to eat beef than it is to eat chicken.
Yeah.
'Cause of
Chicken is
the
definitely highly processed. Yep.
yeah, because of the way that they're made and the
Hmm.
conditions that they're in and all the antibiotics that they put into them and
Yep.
stuff versus, the cows, even though it's also some sort of process, it
Hmm.
actually is, more nutritious for you than the chicken and better, even if you don't buy the, like, organic grass-fed stuff. So just, like, give us a little bit about your perspective on meat, especially when it comes to, like, doing a liver cleanse and then beyond the cleanse itself, like, setting that lifestyle.
So, I mean, listen, there's always a little, I think, I kind of feel like, controversy when it comes to some stuff like this. The less kind of that your body has to work to break down your food, obviously, then you're leaving your body time to, like, when we're constantly eating and we're constantly putting stuff in our system that shouldn't be there, your body has to go into overdrive. And when it does that, it's working on digesting all day long, so it doesn't have time to actually fight the diseases and fight the things in your body that shouldn't be there. That's typically what all of our organs are supposed to do. And then people are eating so unhealthy that they're removing these organs. You know what I mean? So our bodies are just, like, so messed up. So what I definitely try to do is, when I'm doing any type of cleanse, is I definitely do try to limit my meat intake. It is very rare that I eat chicken, just in general, because, yes, everything you just said, it's very, very processed, that they are just not treated well. I mean, you can kind of say that across the board a little bit, with, I think, just animals in general, because there's such a high need for it, and there's a lot of just over
The
processed.
financial incentive is to pack as
Yes.
many animals as you in the building
Yes.
as you can and,
Yeah.
fatten them up as quick as you can,
Yeah.
send 'em to slaughter as quick as you can, and start the whole
Yeah.
process again.
Right. So I will tell you that this is something that I've been digging into a little bit more. Do I ever think that I can fully give it up? I don't know. I have been thinking about it. I have been, that is very hard for me, so I'm not necessarily
Yeah,
going
I
there
I
yet,
actually
you
yeah,
know.
I don't think that getting meat out of your diet is good. I think that because it first of all, it's so calorie dense, right? So that's good because you don't have to eat as much to get as many calories, but also there's certain vitamins and minerals that you can only get from meat. So there's a book called The Sacred Cow, I believe. It's by a man and a woman. I forget what their names
Okay.
are. But they go into it and that actually like if we sustainably raise meat and eat it sustainably, it's better for the earth and it will get us to that place of sustainability rather than say like the fake meat that they want to grow out of this like
Right.
highly
Yeah.
processed veggies and stuff. So Yeah, again, I would say continue to do your own research. I don't know
Yes.
that I can't speak about it technically in all the ways that I want to, but I know from the reading that I've done, that's the point where I'm at, where,
Yeah.
I try to do meat maybe like 1 meal a day, and I do beef over chicken, but, like, I also do cook whole chickens. I try to get my meat organic, especially if it's chicken, but
Yeah.
the beef, depending on where I am at with my budget, I may just grab the regular beef. So
Right.
like
Right.
organic, grass-fed, range-free if you're going with the chickens.
Yep.
With the meat too, you wanna see if you can get grass-fed and grass-finished, because that's another one of these sneaky things that they do with the labeled, right? Oh, or it's organic, but really they still use pesticides. They just use
Correct.
less, right? Oh,
Right.
it's what is it? Range free. Well, actually, that just means they have a slightly bigger pen
Correct.
to go
Right.
with, you know?
But when it comes to, I mean, technically with the cleanse, you are supposed to avoid eggs because eggs do feed kind of like, viruses in your body and pathogens and parasites and things like that. But if you were going to do it at any point, like, yeah, that cage free means nothing. You have to get like the pasture raised, and listen, they're a little, you're looking at about
And
like
the
six
more
dollars. They're
local, the better.
expensive.
The more local, the better, right? And
Correct.
it's all about
Correct.
opportunity cost. So,
Yeah.
again, it depends on where you are with your budget and your
Yeah.
life and this and that. But at the end of the day, maybe you pay a little bit more for your meat now than you would in the grocery store, but you're not paying those health impacts on the back end and the
Yeah.
healthcare costs on the back end, and you're happier and you have more liberty in your life. So just like you said, foods, especially when we're doing the liver cleanse, again, once you like maybe shift out of the liver cleanse, you bring back in some of these foods, limited amount, or you see
Hmm.
how they impact you, because once you take something out of your diet and you reintroduce it, you can kind of really get to see like, okay, like, how does gluten impact me? How does
Yeah.
eating dairy or eggs impact me? So things to avoid, we've said some of them: eggs, dairy, foods that are highly processed, alcohol, caffeine, excessive salt, gluten, corn, those cooking oils, canola oil,
Yeah.
vegetable oil, pork products. Why pork?
It's just another excuse me, just like the chicken, it's very highly processed.
Okay.
Very salty, very, and unfortunately pigs are just not treated very humanely. So again, when an animal is stressed, that
Mhm.
that that takes, it's that comes out in the meat. And now we're eating that stressed meat depending on how the animal, is treated and processed and things like that. So
Right.
yeah, pork is just very salty, very processed.
I think one of the best things that people can do is try to get in with some local farmers or farmers markets.
Mhm.
You can go up to and buy whole chickens or whole cows, and you can see right there on their farm how they raise them, or they tell you where they source them from. It's just
Yeah.
somebody it's more local and it's more sustainable than when they have to ship it from Australia, like, all because I think that's the grass-fed meat that they have in one of my local stores is, like, this stuff from Australia, which is great, but then it's like, now you're putting this whole carbon footprint into getting it from there
Yeah.
to here, and so, again, just local is better than organic, free range, all these things.
Well,
Uh,
like you said, where it's you can develop a relationship too with that person. Like they're more apt to, talk to you about that, to show you, maybe where their animals are,
right.
just they'll show you
And there's
because they do
something about
care.
right, and there's something about that whole process, right? Rather than food just being something that comes in a piece of plastic that you eat,
Right.
just goes through your body and then it comes out as waste. Like, there's a whole life cycle process there, and the more that you are connected to that, and the more that you are connected to your food and really eating consciously,
Yep.
then you can feel yourself like, "Oh, I'm full." Like, I don't need to eat to the point where I'm getting bloated and all these different impacts that come from eating food in rather like, it's almost like abuse in a way.
Well, and I'm gonna, just touch upon that quickly because I have suffered from like major, major digestive issues like that have put me in the hospital. When I talk about major,
Mm,
and when I stay away, when I'm good, okay, when I'm at my like 80/20, because I'm never perfect, or my 90/10, whatever it may be, the overall, like how I feel on a daily basis, because I will suffer from bloating that will have me, I'm not kidding, looking like I'm 6 months pregnant. Like it's bad, but when you are not like inflaming your stomach, because we're, oftentimes putting these foods in our body, you will be amazed on how you feel. And again, eating something like that might not hurt your stomach, but it does to me. But it can make you, feel joint pain. It could make me tired. It could make somebody else congested. Like there's
Mhm.
so many different ailments that people are feeling, and they don't realize that it's literally connected to their food, because
Right.
80% of our immune systems are in our guts, and we trash our guts, and then we wonder why, you know what I mean, like we don't feel well. And that's why, like, people don't often make that connection. Literally what you're eating is it's either going to make or break how you feel for the day, the week, the month, so this is
For your
huge to
life,
start here. Yeah, for your life, right?
right? And which is like going back to your story from the beginning, how you said you literally felt like you were on a slow walk towards death, and like you're so
Yeah,
young right now, no
yeah.
young person should feel that way. And so I just hope that your journey and discovery of this knowledge can inspire and influence some other people to wherever they're at on their own personal journey, whether they're just trying to get back on track or whether they've never done something like this before and they want
Yeah.
to start discovering. I think that the key thing is just to, like you said, keep it simple. Try to
Hmm.
get a little bit better every day and try to prepare yourself, because when you're unprepared is when you make those bad decisions.
Yeah.
Um, and I would highly encourage everybody to follow Danielle on Instagram. Her Instagram is dtruthseeker624. Of course, it's going to be in the description down below, but she puts out great content just about this information in general, right? What we should know about where our food comes from, with quick, easy ways to prepare your food, just little tips and tricks. So definitely go follow her over there. And she also moderates one of the groups in the Teaching Liberty community, the one Food as Medicine. So come join Teaching Liberty community. You can support the content that we make over here. You can get one-on-one help, questions answered from Danielle.
Absolutely.
There's just a bunch of other cool stuff going on. Like, for example, right now, we're about to hop off this and we're about to go into a members only live stream where we're going to have an uncensored conversation where we don't have to worry about the YouTube overlords
Hmm.
coming and flagging what we say. So I hope that you got some value from tonight. As always, there's more lessons and curriculum materials to go along with videos over at the Teaching Liberty community. So much. So go check that out. We appreciate you for coming. And remember, you have a beautiful face. And I love you.
Bye, guys.